last operator.
Nice. Oh my god.
Oh my god! That was God tier, brother.
You've probably heard of Rainbow Six Siege, but in case you haven't, it's a competitive sandbox-style multiplayer shooter with an exciting pro scene, years of developer support, microtransactions, and a super creative community. It's a game with destructible environments, deep strategy, and rewarding gameplay. This isn't necessarily a video for the veteran Siege player. You'll probably already know all these things. Now this video is for the people on the outside looking in. I want to demystify Siege and help you understand why I believe it's proven itself as one of the most satisfying team-based shooters on the market. So, 4 types of people this video is made for. 1. The person who doesn't know much or anything about Siege. 2. The person who has only played on a free weekend. 3. The person who thinks it's too late to get into Siege. 4. The person who owns Siege but gave up on it for some reason. While it's completely possible you might fall into a few of these categories, or a category I haven't thought of yet, let's assume you know nothing about Rainbow Six Siege, and we'll start with person 1. When you look at some of the most popular multiplayer shooters, each game has a few quirks to set it apart from the rest. Fortnite is a battle royale, but you can build. Battlefield is an FPS, but with enormous maps and big team battles. Ghost Recon Breakpoint is a cooperative PvE shooter, but with microtransactions. In the same way, Rainbow Six Siege is a high skill ceiling team-based FPS, but with unique operator abilities and highly destructible environments. Each game is played over a number of rounds and features 10 players, 5 on attack, 5 on defense. While there are multiple game modes, generally you'll be playing the bomb game mode. Attackers drone and assault a building to defuse one of 2 bomb sites, while defenders defend those sites and stay alive until the time runs out. Similar to games like Overwatch or Apex Legends, each attacking or defending operator has a unique set of weapons and secondary gadgets, and of course, a special ability. Some operators have traps they can lay around the building. Others have abilities that allow them to move quieter, smash through walls, blind and stun enemies, and more. With 54 plus operators in the game, Siege offers more than enough to keep every round fresh. It also features 20 maps from all around the world with varying architecture, scalable rooftops and exterior walls, hatches above and below rooms, windows. In Escape from Tarkov, when you shotgun a wall, this happens. In Rainbow Six Siege, this happens. This also applies to many floors and ceilings. In CSGO, I can't deal with a player holding sight unless I barrel down this tunnel and rely on my reaction speed. Yeah, there's game sense, and I'm not arguing whether Siege is a better game than CSGO, but I am arguing Siege gives you many more options to gain intel on your enemy, and then decide the best way to attack them. This is unique to Siege. For example, I can use an exothermic charge to blow out this fortified wall. I can shoot out this space between the wall and the ceiling, and toss a C4 into the group of attackers on the other side. I can blow out the floors under or above the objective and toss a frag into the room. I can drone into the site, tell my teammates where the enemy is.
Okay, there's one by main hallway.
I can quick lean into the room, then peek a second later to get the kill. And die like a scrub.
Check out the other one.
Friendly, last operator standing.
Because humans are interesting and do weird things, and because Siege offers a myriad of ways to tackle problems, every round is different. You can queue into bank 20 times, but each time, different rotates might be opened. Defenders will hold different angles, and people choose different operators. Sure, there's a meta for determining the quote-unquote best ways to hold or attack the objective, like every game. But ultimately, every round plays out differently than the last time you played it. It's in no small part due to these always changing interactive choices that Siege has been the game that I've put hundreds of hours into. Now I want to talk to person 2, the person who's played Siege but only on free weekends. And I want to talk to person 4, the person who owns Siege but gave up on it for some reason. Based on conversations I've had with people, Siege is apparently full of god tier FPS players. This is true, but there's also a not so well kept secret to Siege. If you want to win, there are two X factors that decide your skill: game sense and general FPS skill. Some people will disagree with me on this, but I'd argue Siege is more accessible than other shooters. Yeah, like all games, you're gonna have to put in the time to learn it. However, it's a known discussion point in the community that game sense and general FPS skill aren't mutually exclusive in Siege. In other words, if you have both of those X factors, you probably will be a top fragger. But realistically, you only need to be decent at one of those factors to learn and excel. I've played many matches of Siege where I've been completely stomped by players that are really good. But I've also played plenty of matches where my team has won, not because we're winning every gunfight, but because of smart positioning, map knowledge, and good communication.
Sounds like there's another one.
Can you make some noise? Out of ammo. Oh, I gotta think of... Good job. And probably a few lucky headshots. If you know how to place traps, position yourself, rotate smartly, and shoot drones to deny intel, you're halfway to becoming a competent defender. I'm a decent shot, but my game sense is better. I get frags, but mostly because I try unconventional approaches. Or I'm aggressive when they expect me to be passive, and vice versa. Siege is a slower game. It's not a run and gun like Call of Duty, but it's also not as slow as PUBG. As you learn the game, you'll know when to be aggressive and when to slow down, or not to move at all. So this leads us into talking to person 3. This is the most common thing I hear from people about this game. The person who says, Siege has been out for too long, it's too late for me to get into it. I started playing Siege back in 2017. I had tried a number of free weekends with some friends, and we determined Siege was too hard. It would never be worth putting in the time. But we were wrong. At the end of 2017, we broke down and we bought it during Operation White Noise. Now, I've played on and off since then, but I've played the most seriously within the last 6 months or so. I've improved the most by, well, playing the game, but also by watching streamers and learning maps. For me, the game sense factor has been something I've had to work on to get better at the game. But as for the FPS skills factor, I'm a mouse and keyboard FPS gamer, so that part of the game already made sense to me. But let's say you don't have a lot of console FPS or PC gaming experience. Take my friend Brian, for example. He's been a long-time console gamer with Halo experience, but just last year started playing FPS on mouse and keyboard. Yeah, when he first started playing, he was basically an NPC. But season after season, he's gotten better and better. He might only have mastered Ash and Kapkan, but he's also out-fragged me and top-fragged many times. He's learned common rotates, doesn't spawn peek like a noob, uses drones, makes good callouts, and he types BM after every match, win or lose. Okay, maybe that last one don't do that, but you get the idea. He's learned his weaknesses, asks good questions, and has become a very significant part of our 5-stack. His mixer link is in the description. He's got a little cat cam, it's so cute, just look at it. Brian is a great example of someone brand new to a game like Siege, who's taken the time to learn it while refining his FPS skill. He's gone from being a liability on our team to a dependable teammate, and he did it all during 2019, 4 years after Siege's release. It's never too late to learn this game, and I hope my last point will bring that idea home for you. And that is, why am I even taking the time to make this video? Let's take a trip down memory lane. I've been playing video games since I was a wee lad, ever since I found that scuffed up OG Game Boy on the side of the road in the ditch next to my house, by the school bus stop. I played Bonk's Adventure and Pokemon Red on that stupid thing, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the entire world. Many of us have grown up playing and loving games, whether it's engaging single-player experiences that tell remarkable stories about the human condition, the first time you saw Peach's castle in Super Mario 64, or remembering Halo 2 LAN parties with your friends. Games have played a huge role in my life for helping me build friendships, but also for discerning how to enjoy myself and how to spend my free time. However, gaming has been in a weird place, dating all the way back to 2006. Some of you might remember the Oblivion horse armor. Yeah, we're talking about microtransactions. Back then, it was just a bleak foreshadowing of the current state of microtransactions in games. Now, it's getting fairly common for studios to sell AAA titles at full price that are obviously rushed out the door, whether the game is good or bad, ready or not. And some redeem themselves. But if you told me 10 years ago that an indie game like Stardew Valley or Baba Is You that had a one-man dev team would be a more complete and immersive experience than a game from a studio like BioWare or Bethesda, I would have laughed at you. But that's our reality. I know Ubisoft isn't the greatest example, but Siege is one of the few multiplayer shooters that has shown consistent growth, and deserved it. Operators are, for the most part, fairly balanced. Maps get reworked to maintain consistency, and Ubi has shown that they'd rather create less new content so they can free up those resources to add tons of amazing quality of life features. Siege isn't getting some ridiculous cash grab sequel every year. It's not gating off gameplay content with DLC. Yeah, you'll need to unlock operators. Microtransactions are present. Yeah, there have been missteps along the way, no doubt, but as a player since 2017, I feel strongly that every dollar and every hour I've spent on Siege has been worth it. When I play with my friends and laugh at Jovi getting destroyed by Cav because he doesn't know where she is, it's like bonus LAN parties throughout the week.
I can't shoot him!
What in the world?
Right, now I know where I am.
She can get you now.
Ah!
Look at her! Shoot her! Working my butt off to get within a few games of Plat 3 brings back all the childhood feelings of grinding that stupid level in Lion King, where you jump between the animal heads, only to die every single time and have to restart from the beginning of the game. Siege, for me, is cathartic. It's something that brings me joy. It also makes me want to continue getting better at it. It's the kind of game that keeps on giving. So whether you're person 1, 2, 3, or 4, I hope you'll give this game a shot. It's so immersive and challenging, and it's designed with player choices in mind. And that's why I think you should play Rainbow Six Siege.